Excellent. Hi, good morning. Um, how are your bodies? Anybody got anything specific going on? Everything? Well, I will say amongst all the other things you have humor. And I love that. You could see how helpful that was to everybody in the room just now. Everyone got a little smile of recognition on their face. And yeah. So this week, one of the thoughts that I'm having, first of all, when we transition seasons, I think it's just a very natural time to, first of all, feel some different things. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm more tired than normal, or, oh, my habits are changing. I'm craving different foods, what have you. So it's, first of all, I think really valuable to know that that's a really natural, like animal level response to the elements and the inputs around us that sometimes it's easy to be oblivious to as modern humans because we're not living out in it. We've got, electric lights, we throw those on, whatever. But the fact is, whether we're conscious of it or not, those inputs are affecting us. And I think just being aware of that is useful. I also think seasons, much like New Year's, but seasons are a very natural and powerful time to kind of contemplate and get conscious. Like, how's it going? How's it going? How's it feel to be me? What patterns am I noticing? And, what might I want to give my attention to? I think one of the qualities that can make life more gratifying is a state of contemplation. I think it allows us to extract the goods and the juicy bits, the joy. I think it also can allow us to maybe even recognize or focus on something that's difficult, that's maybe registers as grief or irritation, fear, whatever it might be. And I certainly experienced this, and I think it's pretty true of most people, which is that if I don't give it my attention, it's back here kind of chattering away at me and kind of costing me. And, maybe I'm being more reactive to somebody in a conversation than I would be, or I'm certainly experiencing less joy in my life because I'm kind of like, rah, 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 rah. So if I bring it up for my conscious attention, then I have choices. I can choose to feel it and process it in some way. Maybe we need a good cry. Maybe I need to talk to a friend. Maybe there's an issue that I actually need to take action on. Like, I need to draw a boundary. I need to say no. I need to ask for help, whatever those things are. So I feel like the seasonal shift is just a really prime time to first ask yourself, am I spending any time in contemplation? Do I have a practice of witnessing and contemplating? And that might be a daily walk where you notice your breath and you connect to nature and you maybe ponder that conversation you had with your friend or your mom or, whatever it might be. So I'm not saying it has to be a seated meditation per se. You might pick one thing to be kind of more conscious about, to draw your awareness up to. It might be, food or alcohol intake, or again, how much time you're spending with the things that you perhaps profess to be things that you love, whether it's reading a book or a creative endeavor or whatever it might be. But I think that the worst thing that we can do is to just sort of on autopilot, unconsciously, automaton, move forward in our life, particularly in these days and times, because there's so much coming at us. If we are not discerning, we'll just be like getting dragged around by the news cycle, by the new, series or show that's on, that's fun to plug into because then I can numb out and not be feeling my own feelings, right? So this is all to say, we were talking about gardening, tending to your garden in some way specifically, I think will bring great produce, great relief of stresses, and more space for joy. And summer that's coming, it really is coming, it's inevitable, is often considered the season of joy. It's just natural, right? We're out there hopefully feeling great in our bodies and connecting with people and all of that. but it is better done if we've kind of taken care of our foundation. And I think contemplation is a great way to do that. And hopefully contemplation is a practice that you do year round. But I'm saying this seasonal shift is a place for you to stop and ask and go, yeah, am I doing any of that? And I'm always happy to chat with any of you one-on-one if you're like not really 100% sure what I mean and you want to flesh it out more together. That's my commitment to you, is I'm available. So don't hesitate. But thank you so much for being here. The fact that you hit pause and you got to the yoga mat is such an incredible commitment to self, that you then have this time where, yes, I'm up here offering things, but honestly, if you end up tuning me out because you're so in a pose or something that's pleasing you, fantastic, right? There's nothing you need to do or accomplish here. This is your time. Having said that, I would love to know, is there anything that you were hoping that I would include in our group practice? A particular part of the body that's wanting attention, whatever it might be. Neck, chest opening. Right, I've heard some knee stuff going on. Heel, oh yeah, plantar fasciitis kind of stuff, perhaps in the heel. It's improving. Good, good. All right. Well, we're going to start off on our back bodies, and we're going to start by opening the front line. So I believe you all have a block. You're going to lay down, plant your feet like you would if you're going to bridge, raise the hips, and then place the block long left to right under that sacral triangle. So remember, we don't want it in the low vertebrae at all. And I encourage you to start just in that position with knees bent and experience that pose for a little while. If you want to go to legs straight right away, certainly you're welcome to do that. But they are two very distinct poses. So the knees bent should give us a chance to basically decompress that low spine. And for those of us that are about to get into leaf raking and gardening and all that, a reminder of how valuable this can be, and to please do it before you're completely erect that night and can't sit at the dining room table, right? So it's all about listening and honoring and replying to the body, like, I hear you. So after a few breaths in this position, then you might choose to go into the legs draped long. So the body's just long like a piece of taffy with the block there at the hub or the center. If you feel your pelvis kind of dumps forward and down when you do that, you might need to move the block down a little so the body is more of just an even arch. And you're completely relaxed. There's no effort to have the legs rotated in a particular way. You might have the arms on your belly. You might have them on the floor, palms open to the sky, whatever feels natural. And let's use this beautiful open shape to come into a few sighing breaths. Inhaling slow, deep and wide. Sighing breaths can be a wonderful moment of check-in with ourselves, noticing how much tension have I been carrying in my body and being. What are the texture of those sighs? When that feels complete, inviting you to close the mouth, breathing only through the nose if you can. Soft, spacious mouth, just the light connection of the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And you might add that ujjayi, great sounding breath. And perhaps you're feeling complete with this shape. Perhaps you're really craving a few more breaths here. Please notice when you do come off, take all the time in the world, nice slow dismount. And then please bring your knees to belly, a little spinal rocking side to side. We're going to be coming in and out of bridge pose in a very slow fashion. And then we'll be also adding this knees to belly. So it's going to be a little back and forth. So nice big inhale here into the belly. Is there more? Exhaling, anchor the feet for bridge, anchor your upper arms, and raise the hips. Imagine a block between your thighs, or if you prefer, you can add it. On the inhale, descending one rib at a time. And exhaling, bring knees to belly. We're going to take a big inhale here in our seed pose. And if you've got those thighs really tight to the belly, it should create some good stretch in the back. Exhaling when the time comes, plant the feet, raise the hips to bridge. Asking, is there more? Sending the knees away from me. Inhaling, we descend one rib at a time. You're really using your butt and thighs to slow your descent. Exhaling, knees to belly. So you get the idea. It's one movement, one part of the breath. Big inhale here. Exhaling, belly to spine, spine to floor, bridge pose. Inhaling, nice slow descent. So it's almost like you're keeping your tailbone tucked to help the slow descent. And then knees to belly. Full inhale here. We'll do one more round. Exhaling, bridge pose. Soft tongue, soft gaze. Inhaling, descending. And this time we're going to bring knees to our belly or towards our belly, but take it wide, happy baby. So maybe you clasp at the blades of the feet, the big toe, the ankles, use a strap. Big deep breath here. I'm going to have you just try to straighten one leg at a time. And what you might notice is that even if you can't get the leg straight, you can get a good stretch. And that's what I'm hoping for, is you might be getting a good stretch in the hamstring, giving it your attention. You can hold on one side for a couple breaths if you want to just massage it with the breath. Hopefully you're feeling some progressive release where the leg will get a little straighter, a little more fluid. And at some point, we'll bring both feet together in butterfly here at the butt, and then we're going to windshield wiper those legs. So I'm actually bringing one foot higher up, like towards the belly button or chest, and letting the other one go away. And then the other, and yeah, it might naturally rock you side to side. I'm hoping you'll let it, because you might feel some stretches and connections through the ribs, through those hip bones. Not assuming you're all as tight as I, but. Okay. And then releasing, we'll plant the feet just right out of the edges of the mat, raising up for our little horse riding stance. And then slowly descending, and very slowly side to side, we're lowering first the right knee down towards the center line. And we'll be switching. And again, the reason I emphasize slowly is this is a pretty big movement, right? That's very different than daily life. We're designed to be able to do a knee internal rotation like this. But you might be feeling some things in the sacral area, the inner thigh groin, out to the IT bands. And we want to stay safe, but we also want to learn kind of the clue trail here. Is one side different? Next, inviting you to let one side be knee down and take the arm of that same side up behind you. Very actively reaching. And I like to kind of pulse. So I'm going to like bend my arm like I'm pulling something down, and then I'm going to extend it again. So doing that a few times, just going to help talk to that whole side line. You might rotate the head away, extend the arm, just notice what feels juicy, and then create the other side. And notice if you're bending and straightening that arm, maybe you're rolling out wrists and ankles, because that feels so good. I can't really roll the ankle in this pose, can you? Roll the wrists. And as you're ready, we'll come back with the arms and bring the feet back together, soles of the feet touching, letting the knees settle towards the floor in a butterfly. and noticing. Yoga is one big invitation to tune in to the body, this moment, this body, this breath. What does it feel like as you slowly engage to lift the hips just an inch or so off the floor? It's not a big movement. If you go too high, often people feel kind of bunched up here at the hip joints, and we don't want that. We're not trying to go up. We just want to lift enough. We feel those deep inner thigh groin muscles working. Then we'll hold another 30 seconds or so. If that is too much, you're feeling any kind of cramping or funkiness, come out, but always come back in. For 15 seconds or so, breathing slow, deep and wide, as if this is all you've ever do. And now letting the hips settle, keep the feet together, let the knees relax towards the floor a moment. And sometimes that feels quite different than when we, came into the pose. So just notice that. You might now relax the legs out long, maybe keeping them wide if that feels good. And again, you might point, flex, and roll, and we'll come into abdominal pumping. Inhale in slow, deep, and wide. Big Buddha belly. Exhale, empty. And begin that pumping. So you're drawing the belly firmly towards the spine and then pressing it firmly towards the ceiling until you need to breathe. And I love abdominal pumping because it actually doesn't just get into your belly. Did some of you feel that in your chest as well? Anybody besides me? Nope, just me. Do a go around and just see what happens. If you get, again, all that breath out, you create a beautiful vacuum. And if you very slowly, firmly do that drawing in of the belly, like you're trying to bring it in up to your ribs, under your ribs, you might feel some movements in the chest and upper back, all in that upper rib cage. Sometimes people even end up coughing. And when that feels complete, I'm going to ask you, just take your hands and do, if you can do clockwise, that's better. So you do from your right hip bone up to the right rib, across to the left rib, and down to the left hip. And of course, clockwise is confusing because it all depends on how you're looking at it. But this is the direction of digestion. So from our ascending colon up the right side, across, and down the left side. And this is a lovely time just to simply affirm wholeness, goodness, peace. It's also a neat moment to acknowledge I'm interested in hearing what my gut has to say, both literal digestive gut and the emotional center. And then you might pause if there's anything that's bubbled up, a concept or something you want to kind of note with yourself. And maybe there's something that bubbled up when I was talking before we started our physical practice. It'd be neat to tune in if there's been any challenges. Just tune in and ask, where does that show up in my body? Is there a particular physical location that I notice? Does it show up as overall fatigue or not sleeping very well? We're going to take some time here to come up onto hands and knees. You might roll the side onto the side for a couple breaths. So just really luxuriate in your journey. We're coming into cow cat. And so you can join us when you get there. Intelligent hands. We've been really working on the details of cow cat the last few weeks. I don't think we weren't here. But so just a reminder that we really want to be thoughtful about it. We're not just arching one way and arching the other. It's tailbone tilts back. Heart draws forward, long inhale, neck stays neutral. Asking, is there more? Exhaling, we start by tucking the tailbone and we feel all those low abdominal muscles ignite. We let the head go. Maybe while we're there, we're like, oh, I really need to take my ribs to one side or wag my head. And the more you can treat your yoga practice like a self-massage, the better. And you deserve it, by the way. Breath, initiating motion. It is kind of fun to tune into breath, this thing that we do all day, every day. But when we do it with awareness, there's so much that comes with it, tension in our body and feeling where the breath happens. It's pretty cool. The next time you're exhaling, invitation to come into cat back and then make that journey into downward facing dog. Curling the toes under, knees bent, and we'll do 3 side breaths. On your inhale, coming up on the balls of the feet. On your exhale, belly to spine, work your heels towards the floor. Twice more. One. And releasing to your knees. If you need a little wrist love, please roll it out. You can always come on the fists as well. We're going to bring that right foot out to the side, sole of the foot down, the leg is straight. If ever being on your knee is bothersome, sometimes adding a blanket or a little padding can help, and got plenty of room. But we're going to just slowly take our hips forward and back, exploring what's in there. Again, you're kind of getting into some of that inner thigh groin that we got a little bit in that butterfly hip raise. And for some of you, it might feel great to bring the hips all the way back towards the heel, and then let your floor foot rotate, toes to the ceiling, and sink on in to pretty darn good inner thigh and getting in the ham. So you know we have 3 different hamstrings. There's an inner and outer and then the medial. If your knee is like really locked, try and bend it a little bit. That will often bring the stretch more to the knee, to the ham versus behind the knee joint. We don't want to feel this right at the knee joint. A couple of breaths, just settling in perhaps a little deeper. You know, stretching these big muscles, they respond in time, in layers. All right. Make your slow journey out, a lot of core support, so you might come back onto that knee and then softly relax that leg. And then I'm going to circle it. I'm just going to keep the knee bent. Just nice big circles. Lovely. And then we'll explore the other side. Ideally, that sole of the foot is in contact with the floor, but if that bothers your ankle or something, then just have the inner line of the foot connected, but then you flex the foot, because that's going to keep our knee protected. So you're going to go a little side or forward and back. You can actually go a little side to side as well with the torso. That can get really interesting. So I've got my left foot out, for example, and if I take my hips back and I just take my shoulders a little to the left towards that knee, that often will amend the stretch in interesting ways. And maybe you go all the way back up to heel and release that left foot to be showing straight up toes. And check that you're not feeling a stretch right behind the knee. But if I walk my hands a little to that side and towards that foot, I can often get into a better hamstring stretch. Is everybody finding something good? Yeah, all right. Again, when you come out nice and slow and gentle, and then a beautiful rotation of that knee and hip area if you love. And again, if you need some wrist love going, but we're going to do a little knee down upward dog and back to child's pose. So if you're in table pose and you walk your hands forward like 1 hand length, that should be about right. As we come forward, we're going to squeeze the glutes, let the hips settle, and draw the heart forward. Make sure the shoulder heads are down the body. Exhale, belly to spine, move back child's pose. And we'll do this again. If this just does not work for you, too much wrist stuff or whatever, you want to just play with cobra pose or something, do it. Please do a couple more, making breath your fuel. I don't often recommend reaching the chin up or staying there, but if you briefly reach kind of forward and up through the chin and take that deep inhale, and my hope is that you even feel stretch, maybe all the way low abdomen up through that throat area. Settling in child's pose, take those knees wide and slowly walk the hands to one side. Keeping the hips drawing back. Letting the breath undulate you. You know, you want to be like an object bobbing on the waves. I think it's one of the interesting things about being human is that it's equal parts, I think, you know, being decisive and kind of moving things forward, and equal parts responding, you know, letting the waves take you. Go ahead and check out the other side. And I was thinking about dogs as an example, but you can use cats too, and how, you know, sometimes we envy them, right? Like when our own brains are driving us crazy and we're dealing with the complexities of modern life and, you know, wondering how your retirement account's doing, you know, that kind of thing, right? And you're like, God, if I could only be a dog and I can just disconnect my head. But, you know, we can choose in moments to think about nothing but our breath and whether we're cozy and comfy. And, you know, and then inevitably thoughts will return, but we can give ourselves those moments. Coming back up, we're going to come into a little thread the needle. And actually, I should say coming back up because some of us really like thread the needle in child, in which case just come back to center and take one arm and weave it through, right? Otherwise, some people like doing it from table pose, so you're on your knees and weaving one arm through. Once you're there, notice what you want the floor hand to be doing. You could be using it to rotate your torso more away from the floor. So wonderful spinal twist. If you're doing it, make sure you're really letting the breath inform it. So the inhale takes up room. The exhale, you're able to rotate and get more of a stretch. Some people like taking that floor hand and clasping the outstretched wrist and pulling on it. Whatever version, accentuating breath into your upper back should feel like such a great massage at this point. Good, I'm hearing some nice ujjayi and sighs. On an exhale, perhaps come out nice for support and create your thread the needle on the other side. And of course, we can always do standing versions if, you know, being on our knees or our wrists or anything is a problem. We just bring one arm across and hand at the elbow. What do you notice? Is this side different? Coming on back to center. I'm going to take us into cow, cat to downward dog again. And again, you can love up your wrists first, great. If it's just simply too much for wrists at all, meet us in ragdoll. We'll eventually be finding our way there. Okay, otherwise downward facing dog. I'm gonna have you very slowly raise your right leg like you're gonna walk on the wall behind you. Don't let anything change. No shoulder slide, no elbow bend, no hip drop. Come slowly return to downward dog. Anything that adjusts as you return is something that adjusted when you raise the leg. So stay steady, take that other leg flying. Yeah, looking good. Nice breathing here. Returning to downward dog. Lovely. If you're craving dog series, this would be an opportunity. Otherwise, you're going to simply walk the hands back to the feet, ragdoll back to the mat. We'll all be there. Nice deep knee bend. You might be letting your body kind of sleep a little bit, the space around the feet. We're going to add a stretch here that some people really like. If it doesn't do anything for you, don't do it. But you're going to take your arms, your forearms, if you will,
around onto the calves. Now I've got my knees bent, you'll notice. Bringing the cat, our forearms onto my calves. So my fingers are kind of just by my Achilles tendon. And I'm gonna breathe here. And I'm gonna notice that it's difficult. And I'm gonna do it anyway. Tune in to the intensity. Is you're doing a little compression and expansion, breathe best you can in this shape. Last full exhale. Inhaling, sit to chair, arms in front. I don't recommend going higher than the shoulders because it often just tightens up through the neck area. One more big breath. Inhale, root and wraps, big glute squeeze. While you're up there pushing the ceiling away, hold and kind of alternatingly push with one hand and then the other and feeling that side body reality. We're going to go sideways on our mat. If you want to maybe face the eastern sun. We're going to take our hands on our knees. And we're going to be taking, for example, the right shoulder down towards the left heel in a twist. I'm not actually trying to touch my shoulder, my heel, right? And rotate. You got it. And then the other. I want you to hang out with that a few times, nice and slow, so you can really follow the clue trail. What is in your body? Is it different from side to side? And then we'll go deeper into a straddle and see if we can take one hand down towards the opposite foot. Hold deep breath. If this is too deep, you can always go back to what we were doing on the other side. Let's do that one more time. And then we're going to rotate our foot that's towards the front of the mat, and we're going to step back into downward dog and then send that right leg flying if you can. So if you can do it all in one movement, go for it. Big flexion through that heel, and then I'm going to have you one more time take the knee and bend it and do a hip circle, keeping as much stability in the upper body and so on as you can. And then we're going to bring that right foot forward in a lunge. Steer the right hip bone back, left hip bone forward. That's going to be a nice position of stability. We're going to actually just come up in a little jet airplane. Now, some of you, you might feel like, I've got to leave my belly on my thigh. Like, I can't get it off. But I'm gonna say, let's see. Let's find out. Make sure that right hip is back. Big inhale. Exhale, belly to spine, and just see if you can lift off. You might even have those arms. Otherwise, if you need them, you can have them on your knees. Ooh, doggy, right? And then slowly release and rotate your feet into your straddle again. Side to side. All right. And then we're going to rotate the other foot 90. Left hip bone draws back, right hip bone draws forward. If your left foot is now forward on your mat, which I think it is. I don't know if that's some other people. You get the idea. Yes. Good. Slowly, nice core support. Release that foot. Send it back and up into downward dog. Full breath. Harness to that low belly working for you, and then bend the knee and circle your knee. You can take it both directions, just one, and then bring it through. Pause. So the hip of that front foot should be drawing back. The hip of that back foot is clicking forward. In other words, squeeze your inner thighs. That's there. And then ever so slowly, we're going to explore. And again, don't force it. If you're like, this doesn't feel good, don't bring your belly up off the thigh. Just hold and be strong and breathe. Otherwise, see if you can slowly extend the spine, bringing the belly just off the thigh, maybe jet airplane arms. And what you should be feeling is a whole lot of work in that hip, in that butt cheek. Yeah. And in your own time, release and return to straddle. Slowly walk those feet in, and we're just going to drop our butts and come on down. You can stay sideways on your mat. You don't have to, doesn't matter. You fall down on your butt, just fine, absolutely fine.
Everyone's rotating towards the end. I know you want to be able to see me, right? So we're just gonna bring our feet together in a little butterfly here. And to make it feel good to give it a little way. As you're doing the little butterfly flight, notice what's happening in the hips. Do you have more restriction in one than the other? Do they feel pretty similar? We're gonna grab our big toes. So I do it by bringing my middle and index finger through the big and second toe. If that hurts, because I know some people like they can't wear flip flops or whatever, you could grab the blades of the feet too. I just find this a little easier. And we're gonna be doing kind of a seated happy baby. So for this to work well, I want to be on my sit bones. You guys have been using your core a bunch, so hopefully you're like, hello, belly, the spine. And we're going to rise up through the spine, shoulders anchoring down. I'm going to walk my heels back. I'm just going to see if I can lift them off the floor and then come into a happy baby. So I'm bringing my knees back towards the wall behind me. And I'm trying not to collapse, right? I'm going to stay forward through the heart. It's a balancing pose, right? We will wobble. Got it. Breathe, notice. And when you feel like done good work here, you're gonna come out. Go ahead and cross your legs like so. Roll forward and jump back into your plank. And then we're gonna come into forearm. So if you don't want to be on your wrists at all, just go directly there. Otherwise, it's kind of fun. Do a jump back. And then come on down to your forearms, forearm plank, knees or feet, you pick. No, we've been talking about and talking to our inner thigh growing area a lot today. I'm hoping it's easy for you to really ignite that. So it's again, it's imagining you're squeezing a block between the inner thigh, and it should help you feel really strong. The last couple of weeks, we've been working a lot on spine neutral. And what that means here is that whether you're on knees or feet, I want to feel a long line from that foundation, feet or knees, through the heart, such that I have a curve in my lower back. I'm not hyper tucked, but I'm not flagging and collapsing either. Just strong, supported, neutral. Breathe deep. Soft tongue, soft gaze. And I'd love you to just get very intimate with where your edge is. Right? Just because there's some intensity does not mean that it's bad, but we don't want to ignore that striving energy over something saying ouch, right? But we want to be willing to hang out with things being a little intense. Maybe it's our breath, maybe it's our thigh muscles, maybe it's quiver in the core. And when you come out, just become a lump. One of the things that I'm noticing in my efforts at energy management, just sort of what I call all the stuff I was talking about at the beginning of practice, is that I feel so much more awake and energized and just content and healthy when I am doing some sort of exercise that kind of gets my heart rate up and gives me a little bit of an edge. And it's often walking up the hill behind my house. But it might be doing jumping. We haven't done that for a while as a group, but it's been very fun to hear some other people have taken on jumping practice and stuck with it. Sometimes I jump. It might be holding something like forearm plank and really meeting the intensity with breath and awareness. All right, we're going to wake up our back line here in jet airplane. So palms are flat. Take time to really circle the shoulder heads away from the floor and down the back. Anchor the pelvis. Hands are active, either tented or already reaching off the floor if you like. Inhale, extend. Is there more? Exhale, return. And I'm going to ask you to do that a few times before choosing to hold. It's like you're putting all those muscles on notice. Yeah, noticing who needs to work to make this happen. Then an opportunity, if it's feeling good, to hold and sweep one arm forward. And then the other, reach and counter reach. And then relaxing, either onto the belly with maybe hip rocking, or if you're craving child's pose, go there. Let's come into one more round of forearm plank with the opportunity to lift your one foot off the floor at a time. Obviously, if you're on knees, that won't work. But if you're on knees and you want also to change it up a little, just try just the smallest shimmy, just taking your chest like an inch side to side. That'd be a great way to really, basically, we're trying to set up all the like transverse abdominis and other muscles that hold us when we don't have equal weight. So much of baking and gardening and all that is very sideways stuff, right? You guys look good. I'm happy to see heads in line with the spine versus like really drop or cranking moving forward. So just give it a try, either the shimmy or the raising one foot at a time. And it can be kind of fun to even just try like to release weight from the foot. So even if you're not raising it up, just trying to release weight will activate your whole core really differently. It should feel good. All right, and we're going to come on down. We're going to come into one more jet airplane, and then we're going to come into quadricep stretch with the option of turning it into bow. For people who don't like doing the quad stretch on the belly, you'll just come to do a side body or standing body version. Otherwise, one more round of your jet airplane. That might include maybe glider plane. You could bring your arms out to the side. Maybe you want to express in Superman. If that goes right to your low back, I recommend keeping those legs anchored. And releasing. If you're going to be doing quad stretch on your belly, bring one forearm across the front. Anchor the pelvis as you slowly reach back for one ankle. Make sure you let the shoulder head draw in towards the spine. Then rest the forehead on the forearm and breathe and notice. You can add a nice active flare of your yoga toes. This pose should be ever evolving. You should feel almost like a growth or evolution in what's stretching and what's not. In your own time, switch it up. Again, make sure you're allowing the shoulder head to draw in towards the spine. And if you'd like to turn it into bow pose, getting hold of the other ankle. Imagine there's a block between the thighs so the knees are not flaring out. And with breath, I like to inhale into the pose, ankles pressed into hands, and exhale, soften. And I do that a few times. Slowly release back to your child's pose. Try to tune in and notice what you're coming up against in today's practice. How much that's tight, how much that's feeling weak, how much that's feeling strong and vibrant, with good flow. We're going to do a little shoulder release that we've not done in a while. I think, again, it's really valuable when we're kind of moving towards a season where we're going to be perhaps doing more kind of stuff. And, shoulders, it's so easy for them to get dysregulated, sadly. If we just go out and kind of, use our arm for part of a day and not great alignment, or we just simply overuse, we can really end up, like, God, what did I do in my shoulder? So this is a good release, and where most of us should feel it is kind of down through the lat, kind of armpit, intercostal area. Sometimes people do feel it in the shoulder, kind of, around the shoulder joint and stuff itself. But it's basically designed to help release fascial adhesions and so on. I think most of you have done this with me before, but you start in table. You come down onto one forearm. And you're essentially going to press down and back. And you're doing what we call tractioning. I'm not moving my arm. I'm anchoring down and drawing back. And I'm going to take a big inhale. And then I'm going to keep that tractioning action while I send my hips back towards the heels. And then enjoy and maybe hang out at that most intense spot before returning to the starting position. And doing that about a half a dozen times on just that one side before switching. If you get there, and you're just like not feeling much at all, try bringing your elbow forward. Some of you have like, only 10 inches between your elbow and your knee. That's not gonna get you the sensation probably. If you're still not getting it, let me know. I do it on my like forearm with my thumb towards the ceiling, if you will, as far as alignment, but it's up to you what works for you. Sometimes I'll bring my butt back to the heels and I'll stay there and draw a really big breath. Yeah. Is there anybody not getting anything out of this? It took you a little bit. Okay, yep, so that's not impossible or too surprising to feel it up in that kind of upper part of the deltoid and so on. And I see a couple other people touching that spot. There's a deep relationship between this and this. And so often it's this being too tight in that armpit lap and all of that. And there's all kinds of other little stuff in there. And then it's tweaking onto this. So if you can, try to only go as far as you can go without making this shoulder connection ouchy. I don't want to irritate that. So I'm hoping you can find a stretch without it. Were you able to find anything? Yep, a little angle can make a difference. Yeah, making sure your shoulders are down the back. And I didn't say this, but making sure you stay in your core is important, because otherwise your body weight is kind of hanging on the arm. And I really want the arm to be safe and stable in that shoulder joint while you're doing this. When you're ready, let's go to the other side. And those of us who have shoulder injury in the past, it can really show up here. Even if your shoulder's been feeling great, you might be able to discern some real difference in some of the structure that's holding the shoulder. And what's great about getting in there is it really reduces the chance of the future injury. Any questions? Is there anybody, either not getting something good or you don't know? Okay. Well, I'm hoping this will feel really, really great in response. We're going to do the recline over the bra strap and play with shoulder mobility. If you have a different place you want to do that, want to just be more upright, more active, you can do that too. But I'll explain again because I don't talk about it every time. Just everyone with their eye watches, and like not knowing how to turn the thing off. That when we're laying over a blanket or whatever you're using for the bra strap, what we're doing in part is we're projecting the ribs forward or up, and that is allowing the shoulder head to rotate back and the wingtip tuck into the body. And this is important because we often are complaining about how tight we are in our trapezius muscles, right? No, sorry, our trap muscles. And we point here, but they attach here. So if my wingtip of my shoulder goes back and out, this part has no choice but to be a rock. So we're aligning the body so that that wingtip can tuck in. Now this becomes soft. And I'd love you once you're there to just check it out, see if you can bring one hand back. Some of us like going opposite side. Some people like massaging with the same hand, whatever works. This is a really nice thing that you can do on each other if you've got people in your household and you guys are all, like, my neck is so tight, whatever. This is a nice way to be able to access that with ease. So initially just doing some nice massage through there. And then at some point, if you'd like, exploring that shoulder mobility, right? So it's one arm to the ceiling, letting it come behind you towards the wall as if you wanted to touch the wall, not the floor. So don't bend the arm. Then with that arm straight, you can play with taking a little out to the side, like a little quarter pie and back. Sometimes I'll rotate my face away from the arm. I often think about the fact that we respect with cars, for example, that every once in a while want to get your wheels aligned. But we don't really see the body that way. And then we see our body as some sort of failure when it's in pain or something's not working the way we want. And really, there was a whole lot of clues in the lead up of things being out of balance. And so this posture really can help create more mobility in the shoulder, but also help you see like, wow, where is it bunged up or clunky? At some point, you might explore the other arm, reaching for the ceiling, then behind, and exploring that quarter pie or so. Some point, if you're still feeling really good there, you might just relax the arms and take a couple or 3 deep breaths, letting that front space really stretch, blossom to receive breath. And this can be a lovely moment of kind of contemplating, taking stock. What are you noticing in your body, your being? When you come off, please roll a little to one side so that you're not straining your neck. And then simply lay in corpse pose a moment, neutral, nice little spinal decompression. What is your breath typically like? Does your breath move into your back? Do you feel fabric moving against your skin or your body kind of moving against the floor? Or is it very isolated in just that front body? And is it just chest or also belly? I remember the first time in yoga that I had obviously released enough tension through my back and so on, that I got a breath into my back. And it felt like I all of a sudden had access to like a third more lung. It was really incredible. And I had that same conversation with a couple of other yogis who had very similar experiences. So it's kind of cool to just notice, what is our breath like? And if it is sort of shallow, giving our attention to it could make a huge difference. It also might be a stretch that makes the difference, because if this is restrictive, it becomes very difficult to get a deep breath there. We're going to come from here into our bridge pose, and I'm going to invite you to come into Yoga Mudra. I don't want you to do it if it hurts you, if coming into Yoga Mudra, by the way, pulls right at the front of your joint here at like bicep tendon connection, then it's not a good movement for you for now, right? In which case you would just have your arms, anchored or open. Planting those feet for bridge pose, you might add a block if that helps you maintain kind of that inner thigh igniting. As you're ready, come on up. Work those shoulder heads as far underneath you as you can. So whatever version you're doing arm-wise, those shoulder heads are in underneath as much as you can. And then maybe you're adding your yoga mudra, maybe non-dominant hand clasp. You're working to get your pinkies towards the floor, your fists towards the heels, your knees towards the front of the room here, away from you, your heart up and back, and your ribs up off of your biceps as far as you can get them. So think about raising the ribs up. And my hope for you is if you take a really deep inhale here, that you will feel some pretty great stretch through that rib cage. Just as long as it feels like a great thing, and then please come on it. Lovely. We're going to do just a couple more things here on the floor, and then I'm actually going to bring us to the wall for some last chest, shoulder stretch stuff. I think we've got plenty of room, even though we're a good size group this morning. We're going to come into our reclined pigeon. One of my faves. I do this almost every day. Does anybody else? Yeah, it's a really good go-to. It's pretty amazing. So right ankle crosses on left side, heels flexed. You might hug just the right knee and send it towards the center line. At some point, you might clasp the foot and play with angle. Heels are flexed, please. This stabilizes and protects the knee joint. And what is it like in pigeon to roll your head all the way right and all the way left? We're going to then plant the left foot again, take the right leg up to the sky, point, flex, and roll. Inhale, slow, deep, and wide. Exhale, slowly descend that leg, anchoring the core. And imagine you're trying to paint a stripe on the wall in front of you. We're then going to take the left leg straight up to the sky, the one that was bent, put on the floor. Point, flex, and roll. Big inhale. Exhale, root and descend. Neck is soft, core is anchored, and practice melting in corpse. Bringing both feet flat again, and now across the left ankle onto right thigh. Heels flexed. Maybe you want to wag that knee. I didn't invite it on the other side, but it could feel good. Hug that left knee tight, tight, tight. Shoulders are down the back. Neck is relaxed. Send everything a little towards the center line. And send breath to the place that needs the stretch. And you might roll the head side to side. Eventually planting the right foot, release the left leg to the sky. Point, flex, and roll. Exhaling, root the low back and slowly descend that leg. Practicing softening in the neck. Relax that leg. And then right leg to the sky. And you can be in a point, flex, or roll, or some combo. Exhale, root, descend. We're going to come into one more round of belly pumping here, and I ask you to make it the most dramatic yet. Deep and wide. Get all that breath out and then go. Planting both feet again. Going to cross right ankle onto left thigh again, heels flexed. Stay, please, very relaxed in the neck and shoulders. You could work your shoulder blades in a little towards the spine so that there's no pressure on that cervical spine on the floor. Then I'm going to ask you to simply raise your hips off the floor. So you're using that left butt cheek quite heavily. And you might pulse it just a little bit, lowering a little, and then see if you can get a little higher. See if you can do one more like that. And then extend that right leg to the sky, and 1, 2, or 3 more pulses if you got it. Slowly descend the hips, raise both legs to the ceiling, point, flex, and roll. Remember, you can always bend the knees, but you want to squeeze the legs together. Inhale, exhale, root your low back, and then slowly descend the legs. Stripe painting on the wall in front. No neck effort.
Hopefully an anchored belly back. You're quivering great. And nothing. Whew. All right, we'll bring feet flat again. How you guys doing? Getting some eyebrows, fronts. I know. You're like, what? Use my butt? Oh my God. Okay. Left ankle on right thigh. Make sure the shoulder blades are in a little, heels flexed. Raise the hips. You can even have your hands on your hip bones just to check that they're staying kind of even. And I'm going to pulse, raising and lowering my right glute a little. Does this side feel different to you? Then taking your left leg straight up to the sky, pulse a couple more times. Until you come slowly down, raise both legs to the ceiling. In fact, before we do our descent, take your hands behind your legs and just invite a nice health stretch. So remember we did this standing, we brought our forearms behind our calves. You may not be able to get into that angle. You can use your hands to find a place where just applying a little bit of pressure gives you a good stretch. Remember, knees can and probably should be bent. Maybe you want to grab your big toes. That's an option. Actually, I love that option. I find I can just relax my arms more. When you are ready, we'll do our little leg release. Anchor the low back. Squeeze those thighs together. Slow descent. Lovely. Take all the time you need to, but we're gonna all find a piece of wall. And you don't need a ton. Essentially, this is plenty. So I'm gonna do my full arm length because I'm only doing half at a time, but we've got plenty of space. So find a little bit of wall. You're gonna stand. Well, I teach this different ways. Let's try it this other way too. So stand facing the wall with your feet kind of wider than your hips, a little bit of an athletic stance. And kind of come pretty close to the wall. And then everyone rotate your left foot 90. Actually, before you do that, I changed my mind. I haven't taught it this way in a while. Okay, bring your hands to the wall. Shoulder heads anchored down. So I've got my hands kind of straight forward, my shoulder joints. I'm not up high. It's just nice and comfy. Like, boom. Now rotate your left foot 90. And then I want you to simply take your right arm into a goal post. So you're letting your elbow come up a little bit and behind. You got it. Use your back foot to just settle your hips a little, be nice and stable, and rotate your chest away from that goal post. Breathe and deepen. And then when you're ready, play with that back arm, extending it up and out like a 45-degree, like 2 o'clock, if you will. You got it. So that's, I think that was, let's go here. Oh, so that's fine. You're not here. Here. It's. And these go to. So should be in that shot. Yes. You can notice there might be other angles in there that you want to play with. You know, sometimes one of my best angles is the arm down 45. So again, kind of below the halfway point of the clock. That can get into that bicep tendon and stuff in a good way. Again, you should never feel it right at the attachment point, but if you're getting a stretch in your arm, in your chest, we're happy. If you're not getting a stretch at all, please let me know. The main thing will be making sure your stance is stable, right? So a nice knee bend. I don't want to see straight legs ever. I'm seeing straight legs, couple straight legs, knee bend, you got it. Tailbone drawing down, right? So you're in your core.
and that you're choosing how much intensity to create by your rotation away from the wall and your breath. And then as you're ready, keep playing with those angles. When you want to switch, you turn both feet towards the wall again. You've got your hands in front of your shoulders. Rotate your right foot 90, and then bring that left arm into that goalpost position. It's said that that goalpost position is most helpful for getting into your pectoral muscles, and that the other angles, arms straight, will get into all kinds of stuff, including down into the arm. Yeah, that's good. And keeping the neck soft, keeping the breath going. When we're breathing and we're in our core, we're really safe. When we tune out and we hold our breath, we're likely not in our core, and that's a great place to be injured, whether it's doing this or gardening or anything else. Yeah, I've been noticing how much more likely I am to hurt myself when I'm in a hurry, by the way, too. So, trying to do daily life from a place of breath and core and just being in each moment and in each step is a really profound practice. And so that could actually be your practice. Maybe it's not switching your relationship with food, alcohol, sleep, talking on the phone, like whatever. Maybe it's not hurrying.
It is singing, feeling that arms folks.
What position were you in?
All
All of them. Okay. Yeah. So if you think you're getting some tingling, like nerves, bless you, like almost falling asleep. That's a great indicator that it's probably just too much tension. And doing these more regularly. And then also the nerve flossing. A lot of people immediately are like, oh yeah, I know this one. We've got the prayer hand nerve flossing. We've got the holding the platter of drinks and dumping them down to the outside. That will get to the medial nerve. I believe the prayer hand gets to the ulnar nerve, generally pinky and ring finger. And then we also have the radial nerve where we have the hand in front and bring it out behind in like a little beak, like we're trying to get a tick from behind. And so those three positions, and I do have a video on the YouTube channel that you can go watch if you want me to take you through that more slowly. But those have been transformative for me of the tingling issue, but also all the tension patterns that were causing it. And those tension patterns are the same ones that put our shoulders at risk, where we go to try and catch something quick and then all of a sudden we're like, right? So that's so cool that you're noticing that and getting as physically as you are and are about to be. It'd be great to create more fluidity before you dive in there. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Go ahead and come back to your sweet spot here on the floor and find a really good relaxation pose. And actually, if you're by the wall and you want to put legs up the wall, or if you're home and you want to put those lower legs on an ottoman or sofa, all of these can be wonderful ways to rest and tune in. And I remind you that that's what we're doing in these final minutes of practice, is we're actually just getting completely out of our heads and out of the way. There's no prescribed breath. There's no effort at anything. We simply let ourselves get heavier with gravity. You might once again turn your attention towards the flow of breath. Observe the gentle rising and settling of the abdomen, the baby sleeping. Giving your body to gravity. With each exhale, it's as if gravity is getting a little more powerful, drawing you down, down, down.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was great. It really worked out
Oh.
like kinks, so
I'm so
Good.
glad. I loved that you were here with us. Thanks, Jeannie.
You bet.
Bye.
see you later. Bye.